Hi there, YouTube audience, and welcome to another episode on the Spin Nerd channel, the second episode actually on the channel, where we will talk about nothing else really than music. Today's episode will be a little bit different than the previous one, whereas we will talk about one specific album and run through the tracks one by one. And today's pick will be the Beatles White Album. Yes, an album that was brought out in 1968, more than 50 years ago. Wow. But of course, it is a very classic record, a record every one of you will know without a doubt, of course. It is, of course, a very grand album in music history. By, of course, one of the best bands in the world, if not the best band in the world. I'm a huge Beatles fan, it's very, very cliche, but, there's just nothing else to say about them. They're just a great, great, great band. We are going to divide this episode in two parts. We're gonna do one part today, and next part will be available on Friday, because the White Album is of course a very long album. It is a double LP, one of the first double LPs ever, although Bob Dylan, of course, he brought out Blonde on Blonde 2 years earlier in 1966. But still, it is one of the first double LPs ever. So yeah, let's not talk more, but just dive right into the tracks on the first side of the White Album. The first track on the album, and of course a killer opener, is of course Back in the U.S.S.R. Back in the U.S.S.R. is a song written by musical genius Paul McCartney. It is a very Chuck Berry-ish slash Beach Boy-ish rock and roller, a simple rock and roll song, but so great. It of course starts off with the famous plane intro, which, flies you straight into the album. At the time of the recording of the song, Ringo Starr wasn't present in the studio anymore because of a discussion he had with Paul, and so Paul took over on the drums. Something that annoyed the other members in the band, of course. They said that if he could, he would play every instrument on all the recordings. But yeah, Paul McCartney plays the drums on this song, and he actually does it great, It's a killer rocker. It's about a guy who, travels back to his home country, the U.S.S.R, what it was called back in the days. And it's just, like a homebound song. He's going to see his girlfriend back, and he is going to be glad that he's back. That's really all it is about. Great song. Second song on the album is Dear Prudence. As some of you will know, the album, of course, the inspiration for the songs on it came not fully but partially from the Beatles' trip to India, to the Maharishi, where they studied like transcendental meditation. A lot of the songs were written over there. And Dear Prudence is actually one of those songs. There were a lot of friends traveling with the Beatles. A lot of other celebrities joined the Beatles on their trip to India. And one of those people were Mia Farrow, very famous actress back in the 60s. She's famous for roles like in Rosemary's Baby from Roman Polanski, and her sister Prudence joined the crew as well. But Prudence, she wasn't acting very social with the other guys on the trip, with the other people, and she, often isolated herself in a room all alone to meditate, from morning till evening actually. And that's what the song was all about. John Lennon, he got a little bit annoyed with that, and so he started to write a song about it. So that's where the line, Dear Prudence, won't you come out to play? Dear Prudence, I greet a brand new day. Hey. So yeah, Dear Prudence, the sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you. Dear Prudence, won't you come out to play and join us? That's what the song is about. Third song on the album is called Glass Onion. And it's again a song by John Lennon, a very short song actually. And it's about, some earlier songs the Beatles had written and recorded. It's a sort of overview of earlier songs. And there's a lot of references to lyrics used in other songs. For example, there's a reference of the walrus in the song. I Am the Walrus is a song on the Magical Mystery Tour album written by John Lennon. And there was a lot of discussion back in the days who the walrus really was. Was it George, Ringo, John, or even George Martin? Who knows? There's also a reference to A Fool on the Hill, another song on the Magical Mystery album, and a few other references. So it's a very, very fun song. I really like this song. Fourth song is a McCartney composition again. Obladi, Oblada, and it's a typical Paul McCartney composition, whereas it is very jolly. Paul McCartney was of course a genius in written melodies and simple words to those melodies. And Obladi, Oblada is actually a perfect example of that. He plays a little bit around with words, something he did with Hello, Goodbye earlier, and it's actually just about a happy family, who are enjoying life. It's about Molly and Desmond and their children. And a fun fact about the recording of the song is that actually there was a mistake made. Instead of singing, Molly stays at home and does a pretty face, Paul actually sings Desmond does his pretty face and stay at home. A little bit later in the song, it was a mistake he made, but they left it in because it was a sort of fun, mistake, and nobody actually really noticed it. Fifth song on the album, and not really one of my favorite songs, but actually pretty much of a filler, is called Wild Honey Pie. And the lyrics aren't really much more than Honey Pie! Honey Pie! And it really goes on and goes on and goes on like that. And it really, it's pretty much of a filler track. Something Paul McCartney usually did around that time was just isolating himself in a studio, and he left the other band members and did a little bit of a solo project on his own. The continuous story of Bungalow Bill is actually a very interesting song on the album. It's written by John Lennon. It's a song John actually wrote in India after talking to a weird dude that told him that he went on a hunting trip a few days earlier to shoot some tigers, and John, he thought that it was so awful, and he wrote a sort of Western story about it in the form of Bungalow Bill. And it's actually an animal rescue-ish kind of song. He plays a little bit with the characters in the song, and he's made up a beautiful story about it. But apart from that, the song, I was really never fully entertained by it. Actually, sometimes the chorus is a little bit annoying in a sense and repetitive. It goes on and on and on and on. And one minor point, one maybe minor negative thing about it is that actually John's, fiance Yoko Ono also sang on the song. And, you could say that her voice isn't really that beautiful. The seventh song is absolutely a magnificent song on the album, if not maybe even the greatest song on the album. And it's of course While My Guitar Gently Weeps, written by George Harrison. Around this time George came forward more and more as a respected songwriter as well, although the other two guys, John and Paul, they weren't really allowing him to write that much. But actually George, he came forward with some beautiful songs later on as well. And While My Guitar Gently Weeps is just it's one of his masterpieces actually. And it's of course known for his magnificent guitar solo, but here's the fact about that. The guitar solo in While My Guitar Gently Weeps actually isn't played by George. No, it is played by his dear friend Eric Clapton, who happened to join them on a recording session one day, and whereas George asked him to join in to do the solo. At first, Eric, he wasn't really happy about that. He was like, yeah, George, we're talking about a Beatles record here, so I don't know if I really, want to put my hands on that. But George told him, man, it's my song. I have written it, so I want you to play at it. So let's go, And the result is just, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant song. Number 8, Happiness is a Warm Gun. Happiness is a Warm Gun. I think, it took me a little bit of time to, to begin to enjoy the song. I had to hear it, a few times at first. But then again, I think it's a pretty genius song on the album. It's by the hand of John again, and he had written it after he read an article that had the title "Happiness is a Warm Gun," and sometimes that was enough for John to write a song about something, to just have a sort of title or illustration. He did it earlier on for the benefit of Mr. Kite as well on the Sgt. Pepper album in '67. So he did it again with Happiness is a Warm Gun. It's actually a piece that consists of really 3 pieces, 3 songs, and it started off with a sort of slow intro that tries to capture you step by step. She's not a girl who misses much. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh yeah. And then the drums kick in. I love this track. Happiness is a Warm Gun, because it's very, mixed up. And that's where we reach the end of side A of the White Album. And yeah, let's just, go straight into side B, of course, which opens again with a magnificent track. And this one is by Paul. It's called Martha, My Dear. And it's something that Paul did a lot. He grabbed something from his personal life. It could be, a quarrel he had with his girlfriend, like he did in We Can Work It Out, for example. Or it could be like, some fans that, broke into his house through the bathroom window, where he wrote, she came in through the bathroom window, about, of course. But this one is actually about his dog, just as simple as that, his bobtail, Martha. And it's just kind of a love song, to his dog. And another detail about the song is, of course, that there were no other Beatles playing on the track. It's McCartney on his own again. But the track is brilliant. He asked George Martin to arrange some strings on it, an orchestra, and, it's kind of a theatrical song, actually. It's something that he spent quite a lot of time working on. I'm So Tired, another John Lennon song, again, written in India as well. And this one is actually John, trying to get some sleep back in India, but he actually couldn't. He suffered from insomnia. And he couldn't stop thinking about Yoko, which he had met some weeks before their trip to India. Fun fact about that is that his wife, Cynthia, his wife joined him on the trip, and she was like, laying next beside him in bed while he was, like dreaming about Yoko, and wrote a song actually about her. So the song is about nothing more than, suffering from insomnia and thinking about your mistress. Yeah, great track. I'm So Tired. Number 3 on the B side is the first song of what they call the Animals section on the White Album. We have like a section of 3 songs about animals, actually. And the first one here is the famous and oh so beautiful McCartney song again, Blackbird. It's an acoustic song, just played by McCartney himself on guitar. Some of the fans actually think that McCartney is tapping his shoe on the floor while he's playing, but that's not the case, folks. It's actually a metronome that was dubbed onto the master recording of the song. So yeah, Blackbird, it's of course about the racism back in the 60s. There was a lot of racism going on, a lot of political, dark situations. Martin Luther King was shot. White and black people were still treated differently, you know, on concerts, in bathrooms and stuff like that. You know, it was still hard for black people to live in the society. And that's what the song is all about. The Blackbird is actually a representation of a, you know, black woman or black man. The arrangement for the song, it came, I believe it came about some melody by Bach, where McCartney was inspired by. And he already discovered, you know, the pattern of those chords back in the early days of the Beatles. He used to play it with George, you know, right before they went on stage and stuff like that. Next song in the Animal section is Piggies, and this one is actually a song that I'm not really convinced about. It gives me a sort of feeling sometimes, you know, I'm really not in the right mood for this song now. But it's a song written by George Harrison, and it's again a political song about, you know, the rulers in the world, the rich rulers who, you know, dictate masses of people. And those people are represented in the form of, you know, pigs. Rocky Raccoon, another McCartney song, written back in India again. McCartney actually wrote this song accompanied by a very famous singer-songwriter around that time in the 60s, Donovan, you know, famous for songs like They Call Me Yellow Mellow. He learned McCartney and Lennon to place their fingers differently to become another sort of sound. And that's what McCartney did on this song, you know, he used this technique he learned by Donovan. And it became a sort of country song, of course, you know, wherein he starts the song off with a Western kind of accent. Yeah, it's a very, very fun one, this one, you know, I enjoy it very much. And then the first song after the Animals section on the album is a song called Don't Pass Me By. Another country-esque kind of song, you know, but this one is actually sung by, you know, Ringo Starr, of course. I don't really like it that much. It has the same kind of feeling for me, like, for example, that I have on the Piggies song, you know. I like it, but if I could skip it, I would probably do it. And then we flow straight into Why Don't We Do It in the Road. It's, you know, a song that was written in India again, and it was written by Paul after he saw actually two monkeys pairing in the middle of the street. It only consists of two phrases, you know, why don't we do it in the road, and no one will be watching us, and why don't we do it in the road, accompanied by a little blues on the piano, and of course everything on the song was played by McCartney himself again. He locked himself up in the studio again whilst the other members were working on another song, or maybe actually after he had this sort of discussion with one of the other members, because around the time of the recording of this album, the Beatles were already, you know, starting to fall apart a little bit. Next song is again a McCartney composition, and I think after While My Guitar Gently Weeps and, you know, Blackbird, this one is also a favorite of mine on the album. It's a very, very, very beautiful McCartney melody, you know, just him on the guitar again. No bass. There's no bass played on this song. He actually does the bass with his voice. It's just great, you know. I love this song. It's just a simple love song, and sometimes it doesn't have to be much more than that. You know, he's a master in it, in writing such songs. And then we're already reached the end of the first LP of the White Album, the last track on the B-side. And it's a track by John Lennon, a great follow-up for I Will, an acoustic song by John, the first fully acoustic song by John, and the only one as well, I guess, on the album. And this one is called Julia. And of course, it's about his mother with the same name, Julia. His mother died when he was, I think, 8 years old or something like that, you know. She died in a car accident. He never really actually knew his mother, and in this song he actually tries to reach out to her and, you know, speak to her directly, and it's just, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. and a beautiful closer of the first half of the album. I think John Lennon doesn't get more personal than he does on this song on other recordings that he did with the Beatles. It's one of John's most personal songs. Very, very beautiful ending song. So folks, we have reached the first half of the White Album, and I really hope that you have learned some new facts about the songs on this record. On Friday we will catch up with the second half and run through the tracks one by one again. Hope you will join me on that episode as well. You know, I enjoy it very much to talk about that kind of songs. So if you have any questions, any further questions about the songs, or you know a little detail about one of the songs as well that I didn't mention on this video, you know, I can learn from you too. So just really post it here underneath this video. And if you want to talk some more music with me in the next few weeks, well, just, you know, subscribe my channel Spin Nerd here with this button, and you know, you will be overloaded with the most interesting music stuff. So yeah, I want to wish you guys a very great day further on, and you know, if you want to have a good time, just put on this magnificent album by the Beatles. Goodbye guys, bye.